This is TechCrunch. There is only one fusion device on Earth that has been able to meet a key scientific threshold. But Maritime Fusion CEO Justin Cohen is already preparing to put a fusion reactor on a boat. Now, stay with me. It's not entirely far-fetched. Thanks to advances in artificial intelligence, computing, and superconducting magnets, fusion power is closer than ever to commercial reality. It's increasingly looking like fusion is more a question of when, not if. And when it does happen, it promises to deliver large amounts of clean power from a plentiful fuel source: water. Putting a reactor on a ship isn't necessarily unreasonable either. Now, today, submarines and aircraft carriers powered by nuclear fission reactors routinely prowl the seas. They're quiet, powerful, and can operate for decades before they need refueling. The civilian sector even toyed with the idea of nuclear-powered cargo ships back in the 1960s and 70s. Cohen told TechCrunch, fission has definitely paved the way in terms of nuclear power on ships. Fusion promises to give ships similar capabilities, but without concerns over meltdowns, proliferation, or radiation. For now, the sector has been focused on building the first reactors on land. Cohen said, "I'm pretty sure we're the first people to ever really look at what it is like to put a tokamak on a ship," referring to a leading fusion reactor design. If fusion does pan out, then Maritime's leap to the seas would put it ahead of the curve. Plus, as Cohen argues, it might actually be easier from a business perspective to start out at sea. The first fusion power plants will not be cheap, and it will take some time before they come down in cost. He said, "Competing against things like solar and wind on the grid is super challenging from a cost perspective. At sea, the economics look different. Ammonia and hydrogen are two leading contenders to replace diesel and bunker fuel on cargo ships, but they're still pretty pricey." Cohen said those are some of the other really expensive fuels that might actually be the only other things that are as expensive as first-of-a-kind fusion. In those cases, we actually do compete, just straight up. To flesh out its concept and start building parts for its first reactor, Maritime Fusion has raised $4.5 million in a seed round led by Trux VC with participation from Era VC, Alumni Ventures, Paul Graham, Y Combinator, and several angel investors. The startup exclusively told TechCrunch. Now, the company was part of Y Combinator's Winter 2025 batch. Cohen said Maritime has begun assembling high-temperature superconducting cables from tape it buys from suppliers, which are mostly Japanese companies. Those cables will ultimately form the basis of powerful magnets the tokamak will need to confine the plasma required for fusion reactions. They will also be sold to other companies to generate revenue as the Maritime develops its power plant. The startup expects its first power plant, named Yensen, will generate around 30 megawatts of electricity. Some of the biggest engineering challenges will be designing the support systems that harvest energy and keep the tokamak running, Cohen said. Now, to simplify the onboard equipment, some of the ancillary tasks like fuel processing will be carried out on shore. The first maritime tokamak will be about 8 meters across, and the startup is projecting it will be operational in 2032 and will cost around $1.1 billion. Now, for comparison, Commonwealth Fusion Systems, largely considered to be the leader in the fusion race, is building Spark, a similar tokamak at just under 5 meters across. The company has raised almost $3 billion to date, much of which has gone toward building the demonstration plant, which it expects to bring online next year. Spark won't put power on the grid. Instead, its goal is to prove that tokamaks can generate more power than they consume. CFS's full-scale grid-powering reactor, ARC, will not be ready until the early 2030s. CFS has a considerable head start over many fusion companies, including newcomer Maritime, yet Cohen is confident that will not be an impediment. He said, "We're not going to spend billions on a break-even style device that doesn't produce energy on the grid. The first tokamak we build will be an energy-producing tokamak for a customer." Product demos get all the attention, right? But software development more often involves things like debugging, quality assurance, and testing. It's the dull but extremely critical work that keeps software running the way that it should. And as developers look to automate more of their workloads, it's increasingly being done by AI. Well, on Monday, the AI testing startup Momentic said it had raised $15 million in a Series A round led by Standard Capital with participation from Dropbox Ventures. Existing investors at Y Combinator, FCVC, Transpose platform, and Karman Ventures also participated in the round. The new funding builds on a $3.7 million seed round, which the company announced in March. Momentic makes tools for software testing and verification, a niche currently occupied by open-source frameworks like Playwright and Selenium. Those tools offer complex, fine-grained controls, but Momentic is counting on AI to make the process simple and effective. Co-founder Weiwei Wu said, "We help our customers make sure their product works. They can describe their critical user flows in plain English, and our AI will automate it." Wu and his co-founder Jeff An both have backgrounds in developer tooling at companies like Qualtrics and WeWork. Wu is particularly proud of his contributions to the open-source Node.js. The biggest constant for all these companies, as Wu saw it, was the problem of verifying code. He told TechCrunch, "Testing has been the biggest pain point for every team I've ever worked with." Momentic's AI-driven approach has already won over a number of clients. The company currently boasts 2,600 users across its customer base, which includes companies like Notion, Zero, Built, Webflow, and Retool. Wu was coy about revenue and profitability figures, but says the product has shown enough growth to convince investors. Notably, automating tests makes them much easier to perform at scale and has the potential to drive up the total volume to levels that would previously have been impossible. Wu estimates that in the last month, the company automated more than 200 million test steps. The company's biggest competitor may be the foundation models themselves. Both OpenAI and Anthropic offer tutorials on agentic testing, building on their models' growing computer use capabilities. As those models grow more sophisticated, the opportunity for enterprise SaaS companies like Momentic could narrow. Well, for now, Wu is focused on fleshing out his product with the new funding. The company launched support for mobile environments back in August and is hoping to build more sophisticated test case management once it has a few more engineers on board. As Wu sees it, the rise of automated coding will produce a lot of new apps and a lot more demands for products like his. He said, "All of these apps need testing. They care about quality, and we're going to provide it for them." That's it from TechCrunch. For more crunchy bite-sized articles like these, go to TechCrunch.com.